Praise to you, Lord. Welcome to Lent. I know you all think Lent is a season of self-denial. It is. It's terrible. All that letting things go, right? Isn't that kind of the attitude we have about the season of Lent? Kind of expresses it. I love there was in the old translation for the Mass that we had, there was a line in one of the prayers that they called it a joyful season. You ever think of Lent to be a joyful season? No? No, we don't. But it is. It really is. It's a joyful season because it's an opportunity. And opportunities always are about joy. It's an opportunity to really get to know God and to work on areas of our lives that we need to work on. So beginning this Lenten season, we begin, obviously, a new series, a Lenten series. And the series is really going to be all about willpower. And in order to kind of provide a little bit of inspiration, we've given it the title of, Josh, do you know this? A license to sin. Not, that's the old James Bond thing, right? License to kill. We're calling it a license to sin, okay? You got that? You like that, don't you? No, you don't like that. You're thinking, oh, geez, what's he doing now? Through this series, we're going to look at the failure of willpower. And that results in a license to sin. And then because of that license to sin that we give ourselves, what do we do about it? How can we overcome this? Think of it this way. How many times have you made a resolution? It might have been a New Year's resolution, it might have been a Lenten resolution to do something or not do something only to end in complete and utter failure. Maybe you made a resolution, I'm going to lose weight. Maybe you made a resolution to quit smoking or something else, whatever. During Lent, give up chocolate. That's always the best one, the favorite one during Lent. Anybody made those kind of resolutions? Come back to that in a minute. But made those resolutions and then I'm just like, oh, I goofed. Oh, geez. They're struggling to keep the commitment. Do I need you guys to get up and do some jumping jacks this morning? I realize it's cold outside, but the looks on your faces is one of, oh my goodness. Is he alive? Are you alive this morning? You. Hello, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Good? Yeah? I know it's kind of chilly outside today. I was really surprised I got my car to drive over here. 19 degrees, my Lord. Isn't this like the beginning of March? It's supposed to start to get warmer. Not to worry. It will. It will. So maybe losing weight, quitting smoking, giving up chocolate, some other pleasure, especially during the Lenten season, only to find yourself struggling, to keep that commitment. You struggle to keep it, and then soon finding yourself with a very guilty conscience because you know why. You were unable to keep that commitment. How many times have you gone to confession and you finished with confession and you really resolved, I'm not going to commit that sin that I keep committing over and over again. I've done this, and every time it just feels like every time I go to confession, I confess the same sins. Yes? Yes, right. And then you get to the next confession and you say, and you feel like, what's the use? Why do I even do this? Why even bother going to confession? Well, it's a failure in willpower. A failure in willpower. And as a result, we give ourselves a license to sin. We give up and we give in to those things that really become our greatest weaknesses. So through this season and through this series, I really hope to be able to give you some tools that you can use to keep those resolutions. Because ultimately, those resolutions will help become a source of growth in your life. Growing love in your life. Becoming the best version of yourselves. But before we get to the heart of the matter, I do have this question. Have you anybody decided to give anything up for Lent? Anybody? What have you decided to give up for Lent? Coffee? That's a good one. Is that what you said? Coffee? Coffee? Anybody else? I don't give up coffee during Lent. Never give up coffee. But if you want to, you can. Anybody else have anything else they give up?
Ice cream.
Ice cream, there's a good one. Ice cream? Ice cream, yeah. Chocolate, that's always the favorite to give up during Lent. Chocolate, any chocolate giver-uppers? Good. Nobody raised their hand. Nobody's willing to admit to that. That's good. That's good. I'm sure that most of you have thought about what you're going to give up during Lent. And what I want to offer you today is eat as much ice cream as you normally do. You can have your coffee. If you gave up chocolate, go ahead, have that chocolate. If you gave up watching TV during Lent, turn it on. Watch TV. Have at it. Because through this series and today, I want to give you something else to consider. But I'll give you that in a moment, so hold on. I want to get to the gospel today. I want to talk to you about these temptations of Jesus. Let's look. So at that time, Jesus was led by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted by the devil. You know, when you think of something that requires willpower, I suspect, like me, the first thing that comes to mind is that the test of willpower is temptation, right? When we experience resisting temptation, really is a test of our willpower. There's that donut. I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to have willpower. I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to eat it. I'm only going to eat a piece of it. I'm only going to have a, right? Yeah? All right, that's how we are. Yeah, sure. It's, when we say I have no willpower, what we usually mean is saying I have trouble saying no to my mouth or my stomach, my head, or you can name any other body part that you like, when you should be saying yes. Right? Or rather, you have trouble saying no when you want to say yes, is really how it goes. So think of it as I won't power. We need that, don't we? And that's the first test of Jesus in the desert. He's hungry. Think about it. If you don't eat for 40 days, how are you going to feel? Hungry. You're going to want to eat. You're going to be ravenous. And Jesus is ravenous. And so the devil says, if you are the Son of God, command these stones become loaves of bread. Could Jesus do it? Sure he could. He's God. He could do whatever he wants to do. But he doesn't, because he understands something very important. And he tells us, man does not live on bread alone. He says, no. I'm not going to do that. Don't you wish you could do the same? Don't you wish you could do the same? Yeah, well, you can't because of the license to sin. Really. Saying no, though, is just one part of willpower and one part of what it requires, because after all, just say no is the three most important words and the three favorite words of the WWAPC. You know what the WWAPC is? I know some of you might be card-carrying members and you don't even realize it. The Worldwide Association of Procrastinators and Couch Potatoes. Yes, the Worldwide Procrastinators and Couch Potatoes. Their motto is, just say no. Why should I do that? When there are times it's more important to say yes. All those things that you put off till tomorrow, which you should be doing today, or you put off forever, which you at least should try to do at some point. Just say no. Even when all of the anxieties and distractions and that wonderful TV series, The Marathon on reality show TV, is threatening to talk you out of it because you want to just sit there and watch forever. It's I will power. I will do this. It's the ability to do what you need to do even when you know you don't want to do it. And that's how the devil tempts Jesus the second time. To give up, to give in, not to stand firm. The devil took him to the holy city and made him stand on the parapet of the temple and said to him, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. Jesus prevails. You shall not put the Lord your God to the test. He does what he must do. He stands firm. He says, yes, I'm going to stand firm in what I know is the right thing. Now, I have to add a little tangent here for a moment or two. I talked last week about a test and testing God, and I gave you permission to test God. It's okay to do that, as long as it's a testing of God that comes from giving something to God, doing something for God, and see how God responds. That's okay. This temptation, this test of the devil is very different, because what he's asking Jesus to do and what we're tempted to do is to make ourselves out to be God. Those are two different things. So the contradiction of don't test, do test is explained. Very important. Very different from standing firm and saying yes, when it would be so much easier to say no. Don't you wish you could do that? Yeah? Alas, pull out your wallet and check your license to sin. And that's why you can't. I will and I won't power are two sides of self-control. But they don't alone by themselves constitute willpower. There's a third part. When we say no to what we need to say no, and yes when we need to say yes, we need a third power, and that's the ability to know exactly what I want. What I want. You think to yourself, what I really want is that donut. What I really want is a great sale. What I really want is a day off. What I really want is. But, you know, when you're facing temptation, when you're got that procrastinators and couch potatoes club thing going pretty strong, what you really need to remember is ultimately what you want. And really, isn't it what you want is to look good? Isn't it really what you want to get out of debt? Isn't it what you really want to, you know, have a job, save your marriage, stay out of jail? I mean, isn't that really what you want? You know, because otherwise, what's going to stop you from following your impulses? What's going to stop you from following the immediate desires? And so to exert self-control, you need to find the motivation of what really matters, of what you really want. The I want power. And again, Jesus is tempted by the devil to ignore his greatest want, because his greatest want is always to do the will of God. The devil took him up on a very high mountain, and he said to him, "All these I shall give to you if you will prostrate yourself and worship me." Willpower is about harnessing I won't, I will, I won't, to help us to become the best version of ourselves and to stay out of trouble too. And you might think, oh, that'll never happen. I mean, there's no way that I could always do that. There's no way that I could be that way. You know, what you have to remember is that God has given you a wonderful gift. Did you know that? And it's really a simple thing. It's really just a blob of gray matter that resides on top of your shoulders. It's called your brain. It's a wonderful gift. It's an amazing gift. It can do all kinds of things, and it has the ability to help you strengthen your willpower, so that when you feel like you can't resist that piece of chocolate, which you promised yourself you were going to give up, it's not too far to say it's all in your head. You can resist. You can. Jesus said to the devil, "Get away, Satan. It is written, the Lord your God shall you worship, and him alone shall you serve." You see, in essence, there are two things that Jesus is displaying for us here in his response to Satan: self-control and self-awareness. And these are the things that we lack. And because we lack them, we lack self-control, we lack willpower, we lack the ability to resist evil, to resist temptation, and get your wallet out and check out your license to sin, because we all have one. Self-control. A little history lesson. Just a couple of 100,000 years ago, our lives were a little bit simpler than they were today. They really only required three things: find food, reproduce, and then avoid anything that might eat you. Really, that was life. That's really what it was all about. But it wasn't long before a fourth requirement was added to that list, a fourth responsibility, because it wasn't very long when human beings began to realize that they needed to work together and they needed to form close-knit communities, and they did, because they needed the support of others for their survival. That means they had to add a fourth component: don't get on the wrong side of your neighbor's goodwill. So find food, reproduce, stay away from something that's going to eat you, and be nice to one another. The communities required cooperation. They required shared resources. You couldn't take just whatever you wanted. You couldn't take. You couldn't steal somebody else's meal. You couldn't steal their mate either, or you would get in serious trouble. Back then, the rules of how to win friends and influence people were really the same as they are today. Cooperate with one another. Support one another. If your neighbor needs shelter, help them out. Share your food, especially with those who are hungry. Even if you're still hungry, share your food. And certainly don't say that loincloth makes you look fat. In other words, a little self-control, please. It's really that simple. And the fact is that people who have better control of their emotions, their attention, their ideas, their actions, are better off, no matter how you look at it, in the way they live their lives. They're happier, they're healthier, they have better relationships that last longer, and the list of positive goes on and on. The other side is self-awareness, and that really is simply the ability to realize what you're doing as you're doing it. And then really, with any luck, going further than that, you might be able to even predict what you're going to do before you do it, so that you can stop and say, wait a minute, I don't really think I should be doing that. Maybe I'll avoid that. And that level of self-awareness seems to be uniquely human. It's something that we humans do that other animals don't. But without self-awareness, our system of self-control is greatly undermined. It's even useless. And we need to recognize when, we're making a choice that requires willpower. Otherwise, your brain is going to default to what's the easiest. Isn't that why we sin? Because it's so much easier just to pick up the donut and eat it. Add to that a distracted mind. Any of you have distracted minds? Moms? A little couple of distractions here and there every now and again? Yeah? Yeah, sure. Add to that a distracted mind. Anybody sit down to pray and was able to focus completely on that prayer for any length of time? No, you got distracted. We do. We get distracted. Add to that a distracted mind, and you're quickly going to discover that being preoccupied is going to really undermine your ability to use those long-term goals to become the best version of yourself, to guide your choices. The impulses are going to take over quickly. Do you agree that temptation and its associate procrastination are a real problem? Do you agree with that? Yeah? Yeah. Because the truth of the matter is none of us, at least I don't think any of us, I know I don't, I would imagine you would agree, that we don't have the self-control and the self-awareness of Jesus, right? Trust me, I don't have that. I wish I did, but I don't. So none of us have the willpower to stand firm in the face of temptation. Right? What do we do? What do we do? What can we do? Can we do anything about it? Well, as a matter of fact, we can. We really can. All is not lost. You can strengthen your willpower. It is possible. And here's how we're going to do that. During this Lenten season, I'm going to provide you with a bit of a challenge. And this challenge is going to give you the opportunity to not give up chocolate or ice cream or coffee. Drink coffee, eat your ice cream, have your chocolate, watch TV. Whatever you decided you're going to give up, don't. But do this. It's the 2-minute prayer challenge. Really simple. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. How long does 2 minutes last? It doesn't last very long. Take 2 minutes and pray. And this is how you do it. I'm going to give you these cards. You got these neat little cards. Don't give up something this Lent. Do something transforming. 40-day Lenten prayer challenge. Nice little card to give you as a reminder. You can stick it on your refrigerator on the way at home, or you can put it next to your alarm clock. Do the 2 minutes in the morning when you wake up. That's the easiest time of the day to do it. Or 2 minutes before you go to bed. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Everybody has a timer. Maybe you have one on your watch like I do, or your phone, or the timer that you use to cook. Set it for 2 minutes. Sit down in a comfortable chair. Turn off the TV. Turn off the radio. Get rid of all your distractions. Put the kids in the closet so you can be... Yeah, that might not be a good idea. Don't do that. Put them to bed or get up before they do. Take your phone, turn it off, whatever. Get rid of as many distractions as you possibly can. Start the timer, close your eyes, and focus on your breathing. Not breathing, because that's probably how you're going to feel, but just relax. Nice, deep, slow breaths, and just focus on your breathing. Breathing in, breathing out. And then, as you go through this little exercise, what you can do is, as you breathe in, as you inhale, say something like, simple, like Jesus. Breathe in Jesus. Inhale Jesus. Or you can say Hail Mary, or whatever, but breathe in that Jesus. Breathe in the Holy Spirit. Then as you exhale, you can say something like, get away, Satan. Get away, Satan. Jesus. Get away, Satan. Okay, you got the idea? All right. 2 minutes. Before you know it, the 2 minutes is going to be over. I suspect in the course of that 2 minutes, you may find yourself being distracted, and that's okay. If you get distracted, don't worry about it. Just go back to focusing on your breathing and Jesus. And get away, Satan. Then before you know it, the 2 minutes will be up. So it's pretty easy, except that the real challenge is going to be that the first day do 2 minutes. So tomorrow when you get up, do 2 minutes. And then Tuesday when you get up, add 30 seconds. And then Wednesday when you get up, add 30 more seconds. And then Thursday, add 30 more seconds, and Friday. So that by the time you come back next week, you're up to about 5 minutes. And then by the time Lent is over, by the time we get to the end of Lent, you'll be up to 20 minutes. That's the real challenge. You say, I can't do 20 minutes. Yes, you can, because you only started with 2, and you found out how easy it was to do 2 minutes. You'd be surprised how fast the time flies. God has given us a marvelous gift in the form of our brain. And this little exercise, this prayerful meditation, is a great way to improve your willpower. You know, because it brings us together. Our thoughts, our feelings, our words, our actions, they all compete for control over us. They all compete for our attention. And on their own, these different parts, they prevent us from being who God calls us to be. And they're on their own, alone, they're going to never help us to be whole and complete. But when we take all of these parts of ourselves and bring them together, what we begin to realize is those systems of self-control and self-awareness are strengthened to the point that our willpower is greatly increased. And that willpower, that want power, that I won't power enables us to overcome sin in the face of temptation. And it's then that we're able to open up our wallets and get rid of that license to sin.